But using phrases and the conglomerate of many words, ultimately, we are identifying the concept.
It seems amazing that it works that way. That you have infinity, and then by virtue of limitation, you are communicating infinity. I understand the description, but it just seems kind of incredible that it would work in that fashion. If you have gold, then you try to communicate it. You cannot do it by an alloy. But okay.
Let's attend to this question that you're asking. The reason that it works in that fashion, you're pointing out that this seems to be out of an infinity. They contain it in how you present it and so forth. And the true reason for this is, and the method that it employs is that the infinity lends itself to be known. You could say it wants to be known. What is the smart? It's not an infinity that is in its own reality.
But Rabbi Paltiel, you have two phones on, and that's why you're getting feedback.
Yep, I don't see the other phone. I don't have the other phone.
It doesn't matter who has it. If your wife has it, we're still getting feedback.
I understand. I hear.
So,
but okay, if anybody else has a phone, please.
So he has to disconnect.
All right, it's quite enough.
No, Mrs. Paltiel has to hang up.
Or you keep the phones far away from each other. If the phones are far away from each other, then it might.
It won't bother?
If the phones are far away.
I closed the door, but I can't hear anything. There's no sound.
Kalim contain the oil. There's an important principle in this, that the oil has an intent inherent to the oil. Even though this is a much greater thing than world and so forth, still, with its greatness, it has a functional purpose that it should be known on the worldly level. Ultimately, the whole purpose of the oil is to illuminate the world, to bring this light to the world. This is how come, this is what enables this oil to be contained in kalim, because the oil actually has affinity with kalim. The affinity is in the fact that the oil wants to be known. And as we started saying, and the Rebbe says, the oil, I shucks. Okay, they're fine. How come there's a line across the line over there?
What's your problem?
What do you see? Everything's perfect.
Right now it's perfect.
Yeah. But we see you, we hear you. Everything's good.
Yeah, we're good.
Lucky, what's this over here?
What do you say? Wait, don't touch anything down there.
Where? What do you see? No, that says he doesn't want, he's muted.
He's muted?
Whoever has it's muted.
Okay, fine. All right, fine. Yeah, okay, good. All right. Okay. You see, Aluz, you wanted me to start someplace. Where did you point it
You
out?
were in the middle of talking about how there's an intent, even though Makif is way beyond
Yeah,
world.
this was explaining the union of how the oil can be established in Kalim. Okay, now where inside the mimer should we start?
Well, you said you started from the fourth line from the bottom a few
Right.
minutes ago.
Yeah. Okay.
If you want to know where we were.
To me how that it's a question in the mimer, but in any case, I listened to the shir again yesterday, and the beginning of the shir was it explained that the effect of the kalim to be bottle was from the or makiv, and then at the end of the shir it was explained that the or panimi is what brings the keli to be bottle. And this was confusing to me.
All right. So the explanation to that is the answer to your confusion is this. There is the structure of the keli themselves, and there's the oil that the keli contains. The keli themselves, where the keli was made, is that the kelim have an element of beetle, because they're rooted in oil makif, and therefore they have an element of beetle. Then in this keli we put an oil. The keli is not an oil, keli is a receptacle. In this keli we put an oil. This oil, if it is an oil makif, it is not containable in the keli. This oil is an oil that can relate to keli. That's called opnimi. And this oil panimi relates to kalim, that reveals in kalim the union of AYIN, the beetle in the kalim. So the answer to your question in a nutshell is, there is the oil that creates the keli and the oil that is mislavish in the keli. There are two different aspects, two different functions. Okay, so therefore we start where? 4 lines from the Thus, according to this, according to what we have finished saying prior to this, which is that the kelim are actually rooted in the Makif. Yesh Leimer. Now we can have a clarity and explain. That the koyach of beetle that there is in the keli. Beetle and keli seems to be contradictory. Keli is supposed to be a mitzias, and yet we say in the keli there is anything from beetle. The reason there is a koyach beetle in the keli, who mehoyer makif. It is the effect of the source of the keli, which is the makif. Let me put this a little bit, since that's the first time, it's not the first time that we are touching this. It would be appropriate to put this in some kind of a conceptual concept. The kelim are receptacles for the oil. Receptacle means that it is something which is concise and precise, and you know what you have. Therefore, this is an informatius. Then we say that this whole phenomenon is mushroch, is rooted in oimaki, which is completely outside of worldly parameters. How is the oimaki translate in the world? The principle in this is kelim bring the oil to a very, as you said before, precise level. It identifies, so to speak, a mitzias in oil, a tangible aspect in oil. How can you identify a tangible aspect in oil? The principle of tangibility is not that physical tangibility. The principle of tangibility is that it speaks of something which is undeniable, which is very real. This fundamental reality is sourced, and it is expressing the oil makif, the makif element. This is what we mean by the kelim being sourced in oil makif. I wish I would go into the moshel, but I'll stay out of the moshel. Try to go straight. Kelim have a definitive present, a definitive mitzias. Where is the concept of mitzias come from? If we're talking about oil, where's the whole concept of mitzias come from? And the answer is that the oil makif, even though it's an oil and also a makif, it represents a fundamental truth, a fundamental reality. This fundamental reality translates further down in the pnimi aspect of the oil. And ultimately, it translates in kelim. Kelim and the means by which the statement of reality of the oil makif is presented. This is, I have to go up for Moshe for a moment. This is like at a wedding, you are celebrating it with plates of food. These plates do not represent the simcha, but it gives, it identifies the simcha as a heavy reality, as real as the plate of food. So being that this plate is rooted in the makif element, therefore this plate carries with it a beetle at the level of the makif. In other words, this plate is not speaking of itself, it is speaking of the overall makif element that it represents. And this is what the Rebbe says. The koyach habitul shel hakeili hu meir makif. Okay, we'll just go on. Mibchinas u'igul hagod. What is the makif? The makif, this is all the way rooted in the igul hagod. What is igul hagod? Igul hagod, this is the highest level of oil as it is identifiable on worldly, in worldly context. The great encirclement. This oil makif, the igul hagod, has an inherent aspect of beetle. The aspect of beetle in the igul hagod is because it is a representative of the etzem. It's not a mitzvah unto itself altogether. The kelim that are receptacles for this oil have to have an element of beetle to be able to receive the oil of the igul hagod. What is the beetle aspect in the kelim? The beetle aspect in the kelim is that as the kelim is representing the oil, is containing the oil, it is completely self-nullifying and pointing in completely only to the, not to its own capacity of containing the oil. This koyach habitl in the kelim that the keli should become completely self-nullifying and allow the oil to shine through in its purity. This is because the keli has an aspect, it's rooted in the oil makif. All right, we'll continue further. We're on the third line from the bottom.
So Rabbi Paltiel, the kalim ultimately are not worldly, could you say?
The kelim are worldly. That's what the kelim are about.
But they're rooted in the
But
Armakir.
that's
Hmm.
the oil that is established in the kelim reveals in the kelim something which is higher than what kelim are. Let us try to break through already and go a little further, and then we'll be able to have a complete picture here.
Okay.
The hine for behold. What we just finished seeing before this beginning is that the koyach habitul in the keli is from the oil makif. Igol hagodol. Igol hagodol means the very first beginning, right after the tzimtzum. The hine for behold. Oy pnimi. Oy pnimi means the internalized oil. The oil that can be defined within keli. Ho bibchinas islapshus begilui behakeli. The pnimi expresses itself, and in mislabish. Mislabish means it relates to kelim to the fullest. Islapshus means that it identifies with the kelim, not that it can be gotten through the kelim, but it identifies with the kelim. Almost to say that this is what I am about. I'm about, my AYIN is to speak to the kelim. Because it is bihislapios pegili in the kelim, so that the kelim actually experience the presence of the oil. Therefore, upeil bitlu behakelim. See that this is such a profound islapshus and becomes united with kelim. Thus, the kelim itself experiences the oil. The experience of the oil, that the kelim acquires a beetle of the level of oil. So the oil affects, brings about a beetle in the kelim. Since that the kelim themselves is a mitzias, but that's what kelim are. Then is the mitzias. So where is the beetle aspect come to the kelim? It comes as a result of the hislapshus or the oil in the kelim. The oil is by definition an union of AYIN, of non-entity, non-mitzias. The oil does not speak about a world level presence. It speaks about its source. That's all that the oil is, pointing to the source. It's AYIN. It's a non-entity. Therefore, the oil coming in touch with the kelim affects a beetle in the kelim, because it brings to the kelim an element of AYIN, of a non-entity. Rak except, I'm continuing on. Sheyesh Shilukim Madrigas Ba'ir. There are different madrigas in oir. Namely, in general, Bechinetz oir makiv, oir pnimi. The different madrigas in oir. There's the bechina. There's a kind of oir whose self-identity is makiv. It is superfluous, it is above the Mitzvahs of world. Then there is also no oil that's called oil pnimi. An oil whose self-identity is that it identifies with the keli. Pnimi, it goes inside. These oil pnimi are both called oil because in general they both have the similar quality which is called AYIN. However, this is even though there are different madrigas in oil, pnimi and makiv, but the oil in general, all kinds of oil, the whole concept of oil, whole b'chinas AYIN is in AYIN, an AYIN quality. Just to remind us and give us back a certain perspective. The yin that the oil is b'chinas AYIN is that the oil, its union is not to speak of itself. Its union is to bring its source, to reveal its source. To reveal the source, you have to be completely self-nullifying. So even though there's oil pnimi also, nonetheless, oil in general, by definition, is b'chinas AYIN, is of an AYIN quality. It's self-nullifying. Because its union is to reveal the source. But okay, and because of this, because of the union, the oil, by definition, is in an AYIN stance, which means it brings a non-mitzias to the kelim. It is saying to the kelim, yes, I'm here, but I'm not here. And this is why the oil effectuates a beetle in the kelim. Okay, now here we have to follow to the beginning of this phrase here. Al-Kain refers to the fact that the oil is mislabesh b'pnimius in the kelim. Even though there is different kinds of oil, a makiv and a pnimi. But the oil, by definition, is mislabesh b'pnimius in the kelim. Begil, mislabesh begil in the kelim. And since that the oil is b'chinas AYIN, is a non, its union is a non-mitzias, self-nullifying, and it is mislabesh b'kelim. But mislabesh in the kelim, it effectuates in the kelim the beetle that the oil has. Al-kin ha'er peil ha-beetle b'kelim. This is what the oil effectuates the beetle in the kelim. Sheyiyu gam kim b'chinas AYIN. That the kelim also be in an AYIN state. because that is what the union of the oil is. Oil is iron. So now, when the oil is mislabish in the kelim, it brings about a beetle in the kelim, something of the quality of the beetle of the oil. So the kelim should be also iron. So now we have some kind of a contradiction here, some kind of a clash. The kelim are yesh and mitzias. The oil is slavish in the kelim, the oil is iron. And the oil, as a result of his slabshus, of the relation to the kelim, it brings to the kelim the effect of the oil. So how can these two aspects that are self-contradictory correlate to each other so well? In other words, in a simple term, how can the oil be mislavish in the kelim? If the oil etinyan is iron, the kelim etinyan is mitzias. So how do these two come together?
Time check. I forgot to mention at 10 to, but right now it's 9 o'clock.
All right. All right.
As they say in Congress, cede my time to Rabbi Paltiel that he should finish what he just started saying. So how could it be that these two things correlate so completely with each other?
That's right.
I'd like to know the answer to that question.
Okay, but time is up, so this will have to take up in Mitzvah tomorrow.
Baruch, you can't ask that question. You have to ask a different question. I'm just kidding.
So
Sunday.
at the start of today's shir, I think I was asking something similar. How could it be that something infinite is able to be communicated by virtue of something finite? And it did seem like the answer there had to do with the fact that the infinity lends itself or desires to be communicated. Is that a fair summary?
Yes. Yes. In a nutshell, this means that the oil makif, even though it's makif, it too has as its deeper function to be revealed in kelim.
Okay, good. And is this the same question as we're coming around to now at the end of the shir, or are we looking at something different right now?
No, it's not the same, but it's similar.
Okay.
In a nutshell, there has to be some kind of a other influence, not just because it comes to the kelim. There has to be some kind of influence on the makif that it should be able to be contained in the kelim.
Okay.
We said that the is in the keli, but it's AYIN, and we said it means it's there, but it's not there. So, well, what does that mean? It's there, but it's not there. In regards to the keli, what does that mean?
It means that the oil is in the keli, but the keli does not fully comprehend what it has.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
The rest has to be left for tomorrow. But that's just basically what it means.
Okay.
Sunday.
Tomorrow is Shabbos, so yeah, fine. Okay, good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Have a good
Okay,
Shabbos
so it's not going to be tomorrow. It's going to be the day after. Yeah.